Breaking news out of Chicago. All eyes are locked on Caleb Williams as the Bears gear up for their preseason showdown with the Buffalo Bills. The question isn't just if the starters will perform, but how clean and sharp they'll look under the bright lights. Will we see a polished, ready for war offense? Or a unit still ironing out the wrinkles? Stick around because what happens Sunday night could set the tone for the entire season. Chicago fans know better than to expect the Bears to empty the playbook in preseason, but when the starters hit the field against Buffalo, we do expect one thing: smooth, mistake-free football. Caleb Williams and the first-team offense won't be showing us all of Ben Johnson's offensive magic yet, but what they do show should be crisp and well executed. This is about more than highlight plays, it's about operation. Are players lined up correctly without constant adjustments? Is the play call getting in fast enough? Are we seeing a team that looks prepared, or one still trying to find its footing? Before we dive into the latest Bears updates, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss breaking NFL news and in-depth Bears coverage. Let's get into it. For me, this matchup isn't just about the scoreboard, it's about tempo and discipline. When Caleb gets under center, how much time is left on the play clock? Is everyone set early, ready to snap, or scrambling to get in position? These little things reveal a lot about where the team is mentally and how prepared they are for the real battles ahead. Even though joint practices against the Bills happened earlier this week, Sunday is the real test. And while position battles and depth chart movement will be worth watching once the starters sit, the first impression, that opening quarter, will tell us more than any highlight reel. In Sunday's preseason clash, don't expect the Bears to roll out their full offensive arsenal. This is more about testing the engine, not flooring the gas. Caleb Williams will likely get only a couple of drives, and those snaps will be about timing, communication, and rhythm, not lighting up the scoreboard. What you'll see will be the foundation of Ben Johnson's scheme: a few under-center looks, some play action, a handful of bread and butter passing concepts. Think the kind of routes you'd find in any standard NFL playbook: quick slants, flats, maybe a dagger concept or two. This isn't Showtime football, it's the dress rehearsal before the curtain rises. The run game? Expect the same guarded approach. Johnson has admitted they're still tinkering with a balance between zone runs, gap schemes, and downhill power. That means Sunday could be a mix-and-match experiment, just enough to get reps in, but nowhere near a clear preview of their regular season identity. And then there's the question of personnel. Injuries have shuffled things in practice, with players like Jonah Jackson and Darnell Wright working their way back. They both returned, but there's a big difference between running in a no-contact drill and stepping into live preseason action. Some veterans like Joe Thuney could be held out entirely simply because their bodies and resumes don't need the extra risk. The defense will be just as protective of its secrets. Dennis Allen's blitz packages, disguised coverages, and creative fronts? Those stay locked away for now. Expect vanilla formations, four-man rushes, and a straightforward approach, partly because of the preseason philosophy, partly because injuries have already thinned the starting lineup. This game isn't about revealing the plan, it's about making sure the basic framework is solid before the real season begins. We already know a couple of things going into this matchup. Cornerbacks Jalen Johnson and Kyler Garden won't be suiting up. That's two key defensive starters missing right away, and you have to wonder if a few of the veteran pillars might also get the night off. Players like Grady Jarrett, well into their 30s with years of experience, don't exactly need preseason snaps to prove anything. Kevin Byard is another candidate. These are pros who have seen every possible look in the league. There's little benefit in putting them at risk in August. That's not to say it's a problem. In fact, it's part of smart roster management. The Bears know the veterans will be ready when the real game starts, so why burn the mileage now? As for the defense we will see, it's going to be the preseason version: basic looks, no exotic blitz packages or disguised coverages. That makes the pass rush even more interesting to watch. With a simple four-man front, can Montez Sweat, Gervin Dexter, Andrew Billings, and the rest create pressure without any schematic tricks? Even in a tiny sample size, maybe just a few snaps against Josh Allen, you want to see at least a flash or two of disruption. The difference between Allen standing comfortably in the pocket or feeling heat in his face, even briefly, tells you something about where this front is headed. Beyond the locked-in starters, this is also the stage for the in-between players, guys who might not be listed as starters on paper, but will play significant roles once the season begins. These borderline starters and heavy rotation contributors could get more snaps than the established veterans, giving us a longer look at how they're developing. It's in these moments when the spotlight is just a little brighter for the depth chart climbers that you sometimes find the early signs of a breakout. Let's zoom in on a few position battles that are worth more than a passing glance. First, the offensive tackle situation. On paper, the left tackle job belongs to Braxton Jones. That much seems settled. But in preseason, settled doesn't mean off limits. The Bears are still shuffling pieces, and Jones could see extended time with the starters before giving way to the backups. The real intrigue begins when Jones comes off the field. Who gets the next reps at left tackle? Recently in practice, Trapilo has been almost exclusively at right tackle, backing up Darnell Wright. That's left Theo Benedict picking up both first and second team snaps at left tackle. If the rotation holds, we might see Benedict step in directly after Jones this week, a noticeable change from the first preseason game where Benedict didn't get left tackle reps until late in the fourth quarter. There's also the question of flexibility. Does Trapilo get any work at left tackle to prove he's a true swing option? Or do the coaches lock him into the right side to solidify his role there? And could Jones himself take a few snaps on the right side, or will they keep him planted at left to build consistency? Realistically, Benedict isn't challenging for the starting role this year. He's been working with the second and third units for most of camp, and it would take a serious drop in production from Jones or Trapilo for that to change. But the number of snaps he gets and where he gets them will speak volumes about the team's developmental priorities. Over on defense, the cornerback room has its own storylines. Terrell Smith and Tyrique Stevenson both need to prove themselves against top competition, but the depth picture is just as critical. Josh Blackwell had some rough moments in the last preseason outing, and Stevenson wasn't flawless either. With starters sitting out, these reps become valuable opportunities, and they might just sway final roster decisions. Two players I'll be watching closely in the secondary are Tyrique Stevenson and Terrell Smith. Stevenson held his own last week, but with Kyler Garden and Jalen Johnson sidelined, the rotation could shift. Blackwell, Stevenson, and rookie Terrell Smith may start, and the question is, do they stay in after the rest of the starters are pulled? Smith nearly had a pick six against Miami, and this is another chance for him to prove he belongs in the final 53. The Bears have also added 4 fresh faces to the defensive back room: Mike Gardner, Miller Bradford, Mark Perry, and Caleb Hayes. They're all young, undrafted types who've bounced around practice squads. With limited time to learn the system, they'll get simplified roles just to get on the field. Still, given the injuries at corner, this game could be a golden ticket for one of them to snag a roster spot, even if only temporarily until the veterans return from IR. On the other side of the ball, the wide receiver depth chart still has some drama. Luther Burden looked sharp in the preseason opener and might have shown more than Tyler Scott or Devin DuVernay, but the sample size was small. The real tell will be when Burden gets on the field. If he's mixing in with the starters, it means Ben Johnson trusts him with a bigger role. If his snaps come only after the backups take over, that's a clear sign he's still working his way up the ladder. Scott's position feels the most vulnerable right now. A couple of strong catches or even standout blocking reps could help him secure his spot. DuVernay seems safer as the top return man and likely WR4, but his offensive snaps will probably be limited. And then there's linebacker Noah Sewell. He flashed against the run versus Miami, but had a couple of rough moments in coverage. It's preseason, so sample sizes are tiny, but those moments still matter in a crowded position group. The Dolphins didn't throw their fastest receivers at the Bears in that opener, but they're still a team built on speed. Even so, one thing I want to see against Buffalo is Noah Sewell tested in coverage. As the number 3 linebacker, most of his snaps will come in base packages and goal line situations, scenarios built for stopping the run, which plays to his strengths. But NFL offenses love to throw out of heavy sets, and when that happens, Sewell has to prove he can hold up in space. Last week didn't offer much reassurance there, so this game becomes an important measuring stick. And he's not the only one looking for a bounce back. Preseason is filled with players trying to turn a weakness into a strength, and this week is a second chance to show growth. Then there's the flip side, the breakout performers from Game 1. Austin Booker's 3 sacks turned heads, and Jonathan Walker's touchdown had fans buzzing. The question now is whether those flashes were one-time fireworks or the start of something real. Were they simply in the right matchup at the right time, or can they replicate that production against a different opponent? The Bills will offer a very different challenge than Miami, and that's exactly what makes this game worth watching. If a young player can shine twice in a row against two different styles of team, that's when the coaches and the fans start to believe it might not be a fluke. The Bills might not be rolling out their full roster, but even in preseason, they bring a different challenge, more grit and physicality compared to Miami's finesse style. That makes this matchup a good measuring stick, especially for guys trying to prove they belong. Austin Booker is at the top of that list. You can't expect another 3-sack explosion every week, but the question is whether he can still flash that same burst and menace as a pass rusher. More importantly, does he get on the field earlier this time? Against the Dolphins, he was buried deeper in the rotation behind Dominique Robinson and Tano Pasigno. If the Bears' defense has a long drive, will Booker get a shot with the starters, or will those snaps still go to the more established names? The better Booker plays, the more the pressure shifts onto Robinson. Depth charts get tight when you're looking at 4 or 5 spots for defensive ends, and one bad week can change the math fast. That's why the rep split between these two could be one of the most telling storylines of the game. Inside, the focus turns to Zach Pickens. He logged more snaps than any other defender in the opener, and while he wasn't bad, he didn't exactly pop off the screen either. For a third-round pick entering his second year, those late-game reps against backups need to look dominant. Defensive tackles take time to develop, sure, but eventually you have to make a statement. This week is another chance for Pickens to do just that. A few others are in the same boat, like tight end Durham Smythe, a recent signing who's still looking to carve out a clear role. Preseason is where the depth chart gets settled, and every snap is a test. Durham Smythe's first outing against his old team, let's just say it didn't go on the highlight reel. As the third tight end, it's not a disaster, but you still want to see him prove he belongs. That means cleaner blocking, secure hands, and some sort of positive spark when his number is called. Because right now, his roster spot isn't a lock. Steven Carlson is right there behind him, not flashy, but reliable on special teams, which matters when you're not a primary offensive weapon. Then there's Joel Wilson, also fighting for a shot. None of them made much noise in the opener. This week, someone needs to stand out. Because if the Bears decide to keep 4 tight ends, those depth spots will be decided by who makes an impression when the chance comes. On defense, one glaring issue from the Dolphins game was tackling. The Bears whiffed on roughly 14 attempts. Josh Blackwell missed 3, Terrell Smith had a couple, and others followed suit. Preseason or not, you've got to clean that up. Practice doesn't give you much live contact work anymore, so these games are the only real reps you get. Time to sharpen the form and finish plays. A few players' health could also shape this week's storylines. Offensive lineman Karana Magaji has been working back from injury, seeing more third-team reps. If he's clear to go, it'll be interesting to see where he lines up and how quickly he gets on the field. The question is whether we see signs of that third-round potential or the same player who looked lost at times last year. Roshan Johnson hasn't been seen at practice lately, so a return in this game feels unlikely. But if he does suit up, the rotation with Kyle Monangai, Travis Homer, and the other deep chart backs will be worth watching. The defensive backfield is still banged up, and seeing any of those players return could shake things up. And of course, special teams is where the bottom of the roster battles really heat up. Guys like Jalen Walker or Maurice Alexander might flash as receivers, but the truth is they only make the cut if they also prove they can contribute on kick coverage and punt return units. If you're fighting for a roster spot at this stage, there's one golden rule: become a special teams monster. That's where jobs are won and lost for fringe players. At linebacker, the depth chart behind the starters is tight. Noah Sewell, Amen Ogbongbemiga, and Ruben Hippolyte are in the mix. But to crack the final 53 is that 6th linebacker you've got to shine on kicks and punts. Rookies like Power Eccles, under-the-radar names like Carl Jones, and veterans such as Cease Bossman all have a chance, but someone has to grab that role and own it. The same pressure applies on the edge. Dominique Robinson has been taking plenty of special team snaps, while Daniel Hardy already carries a reputation as a coverage ace. And in the defensive backfield, if you're the 6th or 7th corner, your survival depends on what you do in those chaotic, high-speed moments when the ball is in the air. It's not glamorous. You won't hear the crowd roar the same way as when a receiver hauls in a deep ball. But every tackle and every miss counts. In the first preseason game, Kyle Monangai whiffed on 1. Alex Cook, despite forcing a fumble, missed 2. On the flip side, Josh Blackwell recorded 2 tackles in coverage, Hippolyte added 2 more, and Terrell Smith chipped in 1. Those are the kinds of plays that quietly seal roster spots while the rest of the stadium is focused on the scoreboard. By the time the preseason dust settles, the guys who fly downfield, shed a block, and wrap up a returner might not have their names in the headlines, but they'll have jobs when September kicks off.